So, we're back for another VGC guide, and this time we are looking at Torkoal, the Trick Room Sweeper. Like, definitely the definitive Trick Room Sweeper. You get to click Choice Specs, Terra Fire boosted Eruption, and both Pokemon are basically KO'd. Like, that's just how it works. That's what we got to deal with now. So, you've always got to have a Torkoal counter, for sure. I think that it is probably on the border of A and S. It will definitely be S when Paradox Pokemon come back, because then you get two Protosynthesis things without a booster energy, but it's really close whether it's going to be S without. But it can just immediately win games. Like, if you get Trick Room and you have Torkoal in Trick Room, some games are just over already. You just click Eruption twice and you win. That's just how it works. So Choice Specs is probably the best item on Torkoal because of that reason. It doesn't have that immediate firepower if you go with something like Charcoal. You definitely can, and that will still do significant damage, but there will be a lot of Pokemon that will take 90% from a Charcoal boosted Eruption, and then that's not sweeping in Trick Room. Choice Specs will guarantee that. So, if you're playing with a Choice Specs Torkoal, then you get to just spam Eruptions. Even if you don't get into Trick Room, Choice Specs Overheat is going to KO something. And Choice Specs Heat Wave is perfectly fine to spam as well. That will two-shot most things. So if you don't manage to get into the Trick Room or you've taken any HP damage, Heat Wave is perfectly fine as well. Then you just round it off with Solar Beam just to hit the water types. You could run Earth Power instead, but Solar Beam I would say is probably better. Overheat could be dropped for Earth Power as well if you wanted the extra coverage, but Choice Specs Overheat is pretty sweet as well. This EV spread, I made it back in Sword and Shield. I know that it was correct and it was efficient, but I can't remember what it did, so I'm just still using it, but I can't tell you what it is. I just trust my past self. So, yeah. So that's the spread that I would recommend. Can't remember what it did, but yeah, it doesn't really matter whether you're going with Choice Specs or Charcoal. Choice Specs is going to be slightly better when you are in Trick Room. Charcoal is more consistency if you do end up taking damage, because then you can switch from Eruption to Heat Wave instead. If you didn't want to go with that, you can go with slightly more of a supportive set. This one doesn't need to be just immediately sweeping Trick Room. This can function outside of Trick Room perfectly fine because it's got amazing defense, and with the Assault Vest it patches up the special defense, so it doesn't actually matter if it's taking some hits. You can still go for some pretty strong Heat Waves still, and then you get to fire off some nice Solar Beams that would be boosted by Grass type this time. I think the Assault Vest one should probably be Grass instead of Fire, because you're not going for just the immediate, superpower eruption, here we go kind of thing. So Solar Beam will let you turn into a Grass type to take on a Moongus a bit better. But you definitely still could go with Fire type Eruption on the Assault Vest, because you're lacking a little bit of damage output that Charcoal or Choice Specs would have given you. So Fire would be just entirely justifiable as well. And Clear Smog rounds out, because then you can get something like a Dondozo caught with a Clear Smog, and then you are sorted in that regard. And with the Assault Vest, you can afford to have that extra move. You definitely could run Earth Power, like I said previously on the Choice Specs, but with the Assault Vest, you're going to be super bulky, and you could add a little bit of support with Clear Smog as well. Because you're going to be so bulky, you'll be able to take some of those set up moves, like as in the moves that have been set up, and then Clear Smog them away. So that could be pretty sweet as well. And it still very much can body press Iron Defense. Like, it definitely can. We've had body press before, and then it was Burning Jealousy over this, and then it was usually Yawn over Iron Defense. But I don't think Yawn is as necessary, because that was mainly for Dynamax Pokemon. Overheat's going to be some nice damage, even without any special attack investment, because you'll get the Sun boost on top of that, so it's a way of hitting flying types and all that. Or ghost types, I should say, with the Body Press Iron Defense, but its defense is so good that Body Press Iron Defense would be entirely reasonable as well. Leftovers Protect will get you some longevity and be able to steal some games as well. And you might as well pump up your special defense, because you don't need any extra defense. If you went something like this, then you are committing to being just defensive, but then you'll be KO'd to most special attacks. So it's much more efficient to boost up your special defense, because you're going to be boosting your defense with Iron Defense, and then defense investment wouldn't really matter. Probably still be a Grass type for this defensive one. Again, so that you can't be spored, and it's a nice defensive typing with the Fire type as well. So, yeah. Basically, you have to be prepared for this Pokemon. If you get into a position where a Torkoal is against you in Trick Room and you have nothing, you lose. It's as simple as that. So you have to have Torkoal answers. That's just where we are in the game, unfortunately. But it definitely can be counterable, for sure. If you can run things like Wide Guard and all that, definitely are counters, but be aware that this is a Pokemon that in the right position just immediately wins. You have to be ready for it.